First up, the 1959 Monticello nickel with no mint mark. But with a twist, we're focusing on those that are damaged or in less than perfect condition. Can these still be worth big money? Stick around because the answer might surprise you. The Jefferson Nickels series has been a favorite among collectors for decades, and the Monticello design on the reverse side is iconic. The 1959 Jefferson Nickel is particularly interesting because it marks the last year before the Philadelphia Mint stopped placing mint marks on nickels until 1968. Most 1959 nickels struck in Philadelphia don't have a mint mark at all, unlike Denver and San Francisco issues, which do. This makes the 1959 no mint mark nickel quite common, but does common mean worthless? Absolutely not, but what about coins that are damaged? Well, condition plays a big role in value, but even damaged coins can fetch a decent price if they're rare or have unique features. Damage to coins comes in many forms: scratches, corrosion, cleaning marks, dings, and environmental wear. Most collectors prefer coins in mint or near mint condition, but what if you have a damaged 1959 Jefferson nickel with no mint mark? In general, damage reduces a coin's value. But here's the catch: if a coin is rare enough or has a collectible feature, like a particular die variety or an error, it can still hold value, even in damaged condition. For example, certain varieties of the 1959 nickel without mint marks have minor die cracks or doubling, making them more collectible. So, how much is a damaged 1959 Monticello nickel without a mint mark worth in today's market? Let's break it down. Damaged, worn, $200. These are common and mostly worth face value or slightly above due to silver content. To wrap up, the 1959 Monticello Jefferson nickel without a mint mark is generally common but still holds value, even when damaged, especially if it has unique features. So next time you find one in your change, take a closer look before you spend it. 1970s Jefferson nickel with the S mint mark. But here's the twist: we're focusing on the value of these coins even when they're in damaged or poor condition. So if you have any old nickels lying around, you definitely want to stick around to find out what they could be worth today. First off, let's talk about the basics. The 1970s Jefferson nickel was minted at the San Francisco Mint, and unlike your typical circulation coins, these were primarily intended for collectors. Because of that, their numbers are far lower compared to nickels from other mints in that year. The total mintage for the 1970s Jefferson nickel was just under 30 million coins, which might sound like a lot, but in the coin world, especially for collectors, that's actually a relatively small number for a 20th century coin. Most nickels from that era were made in the Philadelphia and Denver mints, and their mintages were in the hundreds of millions, so the S mint mark on the 1970 nickel makes it more desirable, especially for collectors who want to complete their mint sets. But here's where things get tricky. While most of the 1970s nickels were produced for collectors and are generally found in nice condition, many of the ones floating around today are damaged. Damage could be anything from scratches, corrosion, cleaning marks, or even post-mint damage like dents and nicks. Now, if you're wondering, does damage completely kill the value? The answer is not always. Believe it or not, even damaged 1970s nickels hold value, and sometimes a lot more than the face value of $50. That's because of the low mintage and collector demand in today's market. A heavily damaged or circulated 1970s Jefferson nickel can fetch anywhere from $100, depending on the severity of the damage and whether the S mint mark is still clearly visible. That's a massive increase over its face value for coins with moderate wear and damage. Think worn rims, some scratches, but the date and mint mark are clear. You could see prices climbing to about $150. That's great news if you find one in your change or from an old coin collection. One tip for collectors or sellers: always check if the S mint mark is intact and clearly visible. That's the key factor in determining the premium value of these nickels, even if the coin's otherwise in rough shape. So to recap, if you come across a 1970s Jefferson nickel in damaged condition, don't toss it aside. Even coins with scratches, wear, or minor corrosion can be worth $1 or more. In the right market, that's 20 times the face value. And if you happen to have one in better condition, the value can skyrocket. Next up, the Monticello nickel, especially in fine condition. If you've got one of these in your collection, stick around because we're going to talk about why it's valuable, how much it's worth in today's market, and tips on identifying and grading it. The Monticello nickel is part of the Jefferson Nickels series, first introduced in 1938. The reverse of this nickel features Thomas Jefferson's famous home, Monticello, in Virginia, a design that has become iconic in American coinage over the years. Different mint marks and years have made certain Jefferson Nickels more valuable than others, especially when they're in better condition. One year that stands out for collectors is the 1998 with a D mint mark, meaning it was minted in Denver. So, what makes the 1998D Monticello Jefferson Nickels special? First off, this coin belongs to the Westward Journey series that ran from 1998 to 2003. Celebrating the bicentennial of Lewis and Clark's expedition, the 1998D nickel stands out because it had a relatively low mintage compared to other years in the series, about 666 million coins minted. While that number sounds huge, it's actually lower than some other years, making high-grade examples a bit scarcer for collectors. And when we talk about fine condition, we're referring to a grade where the coin shows moderate wear but still retains most of its details, like the outlines of Monticello, Jefferson's profile, and the date and mint mark being clearly readable. Now, let's talk value. The 1998D Jefferson nickel in fine condition typically sells for around $140 in the coin market. Yes, that's more than its face value of 5 cents. Why the premium? Well, collectors prize coins that are from key years or have lower mintages, especially when they're well preserved. A fine condition coin strikes a nice balance between affordability and collectability. If you step up to higher grades, like very fine or extremely fine, the price jumps significantly, sometimes reaching $300 or more, and for uncirculated coins, prices can climb even higher, especially if certified by a grading service. Online auction sites like eBay can give you a good sense of market prices. Coin shops and local coin shows are great for hands-on inspection and immediate sales, and don't forget professional grading companies like PCGS and NGC. They add credibility and can increase your coin's value. Next up, the 1989 Monticello nickel with a D mint mark, specifically in very fine condition. So, what makes this particular nickel so special? How much is it really worth today? Stick around because we'll break down everything you need to know, including where you might find one and tips on identifying the real deal. First, let's talk about the coin itself. The 1989 Jefferson nickel is part of the long-running Monticello series, which features Thomas Jefferson's famous home, the reverse side. It was minted in Philadelphia, a no mint mark, Denver D mint mark, and San Francisco S mint mark. For proof coins today, we're focusing on the Denver minted nickel, marked with a small d on the right side of Monticello, just above the building. Now, you might be wondering, isn't the 1989 nickel a pretty common coin? And you're right, millions were produced that year. So what makes the 1989D Monticello nickel in very fine condition valuable in coin collecting? Condition matters a lot. The grading scale goes from poor or good all the way up to mint state, which is basically flawless. Our focus today is the very fine grade, abbreviated as VF. A very fine 1989D nickel will show moderate wear but still retain most design details clearly. You can easily see the intricate lines of Monticello and Jefferson's profile without too much fading. So, what's the value of a 1989D Monticello nickel in very fine condition? Well, most Jefferson nickels from this era typically carry their face value about 200.00, but a coin in higher grades like VF can fetch a bit more from collectors, especially if it's a key date or has an error. But here's the twist. If you find a 1989D nickel with an error or unique variety, the value can jump dramatically. For example, some nickels from this year show double dyes, minting errors, or unusual die cracks. Those rare mistakes can push prices into the tens or even thousands of dollars depending on the severity and collector interest. So, while a typical 1989D Monticello nickel in very fine condition might not break the bank, finding one in pristine shape or with a unique error can definitely put a nice little bonus in your pocket. Next up, the 2003 Monticello Jefferson nickel with the D-mint mark. If you've got one of these in very fine condition, you might be sitting on more value than you think. So let's uncover what makes this nickel so special and what it's worth. In today's market, the Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938, featuring the third U.S. President, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse, and his iconic Monticello estate on the reverse. This design, created by Felix Schlag, has become one of the most beloved and recognized in U.S. coin history. The 2003D Monticello nickel is part of the standard Jefferson nickel series minted at the Denver Mint. But what sets this coin apart? From the others, the 2003D nickel was minted in very large numbers. Over 693 million coins were produced at Denver alone. So why should collectors care about this specific coin? Here's the catch. Despite the massive mintage, the 2003D Monticello nickel holds value because of certain factors that can make it rare or collectible, especially in higher grades like very fine VF. A very fine coin shows moderate wear on the high points of the design, but still retains clear details on both the obverse and reverse. For the 2003D nickel, this means you'll see noticeable wear on Jefferson's hair and Monticello's architectural details, but the lettering and date will still be sharp in circulated grades like very fine. The 2003D Monticello Jefferson nickel typically ranges between $100 depending on the exact grade and eye appeal, but here's where things get interesting. Certain 2003D nickels can be valuable if they show error varieties such as double dyes, repunched mint marks, or unusual die cracks. These error coins can jump in value to several $100s or more. To wrap up, the 2003D Monticello Jefferson nickel in very fine condition is generally modestly valuable, typically under $200, but keep an eye out for rare error varieties. That can dramatically increase its worth. With millions of these nickels still in circulation, it's always worth a quick check if you happen to find one in your change or collection. You never know, you might just have a hidden gem worth $1,000. Next up, the 1984D Black Beauty. If you've ever wondered why certain nickels fetch thousands of dollars, this coin might just be the answer at first glance. The 1984D Jefferson nickel appears unremarkable. However, some of these coins exhibit a unique, darkened appearance due to a striking error known as the Black Beauty. This discoloration results from a combination of die wear and environmental factors during the minting process, giving the coin its distinctive look. While most 1984D nickels are worth face value, those with the Black Beauty error are highly sought after. The rarity of this error, combined with the coin's unique aesthetic, has led to significant interest among collectors currently. A 1984D Black Beauty in uncirculated condition can command prices ranging from $100 to $500, depending on its grade and the severity of the discoloration. Coins with exceptional features or additional errors can fetch even higher amounts. To identify a Black Beauty, look for a 1984D Jefferson nickel with a noticeably darker hue, especially around the edges. The discoloration should be uniform and not the result of dirt or corrosion. A magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe can help reveal these subtle details. Grading is crucial in determining a coin's value. The Professional Coin Grading Service (PCGS) and Numismatic Guarantee Corporation (NGC) are reputable organizations that assess coins based on their condition. A higher grade can significantly increase a coin's market value. Interested in acquiring or selling a Black Beauty? Online platforms like eBay and specialized coin auction sites are excellent places to start. Always ensure you're dealing with reputable sellers and buyers to avoid potential scams. The 1984D D Black Beauty Jefferson nickel is a testament to the fascinating world of coin collecting. Its unique characteristics and rarity make it a prized possession for collectors. Keep an eye out, you might just find one in your spare change. Next up, the 2002 Monticello Jefferson nickel with the P mint mark, and why it's capturing the attention of collectors and investors alike. The Jefferson nickel is a staple in American coinage. First introduced in 1938, it features our third president, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse side, and the famous Monticello, Jefferson's Virginia estate, on the reverse. Over the decades, this coin has gone through several design changes, but the Monticello design has been one of the most iconic, used extensively from 1938 to 2003. In 2002, the Philadelphia Mint produced millions of these nickels, and most of them look very similar. But not all nickels are created equal. Some rare varieties and minting errors from that year can be worth a lot more than face value. Today, we're zeroing in on the 2000 to P Monticello nickel. So, what makes the 2000 to P Monticello nickel so interesting? First, it's important to know that in 2002, the Philadelphia Mint used a new mint mark placement instead of placing the P mint mark on the obverse side. Like most other coins, the mint mark on these nickels was placed on the reverse side to the right of Monticello. This mint mark placement is unique to 2002 to 2003 Monticello nickels, making it instantly recognizable to collectors. Now, when it comes to value, the coin's condition is everything. Coins are graded on a scale from poor P1 to perfect mint state MS70. A 2000 to P nickel in good condition, meaning it has visible details but noticeable wear, can still have decent value above FAFIC. So what's the going rate for a 2000 to P Monticello nickel in good condition today? Well, for most circulated coins in average good condition, the value hovers around $100, slightly above face value due to collector demand. Collectors should also keep an eye out for certain rare error coins from 2002. For example, the double die error, where the mint mark or some details appear doubled, can dramatically increase a nickel's value, sometimes pushing it into the hundreds of dollars depending on rarity and condition. To wrap up, while the 2002 P Monticello Jefferson nickel isn't the rarest or most valuable nickel out there, in good condition and above, it still commands a slight premium in today's market. And if you're lucky enough to own one in uncirculated condition or with special errors, you could be holding a mini treasure worth a lot more. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 2000 to P Monticello Jefferson nickel, next up, the 1995 D mint mark Monticello nickel in extra fine condition. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938. Featuring the iconic profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and the famous Monticello building. On the reverse, these nickels have become beloved by collectors nationwide, but not all Jefferson nickels are created equal. Some years, mint marks, and conditions can make certain nickels worth much more than their 5-cent face value. Let's talk specifically about the 1995 Jefferson nickel with the D mint mark, indicating it was minted in Denver. The 1995 series was notable because it was one of the years where mintages dropped compared to other years in the 1990s. Now, why is the 1995 D nickel so interesting? Well, collectors pay special attention to coins in higher grades, especially extra fine condition, or better extra fine, or EF, is a grading term used by numismatists to describe a coin that shows light wear on the highest points but still retains much of its original detail. For a 1995 Jefferson nickel, an EF grade means the Monticello design is sharp, the date and mint mark are clear, and the coin's surfaces have minimal marks. So, what is this coin worth today? The 1995 D Jefferson nickel in extra fine condition has steadily gained value thanks to its relatively low mintage and demand among collectors currently. These coins can fetch anywhere from $160 each in extra fine condition at retail coin shops. But prices can vary depending on the seller and market conditions. The value is driven by a few key factors: rarity, condition, and collector interest. Coins with sharp details and minimal wear always draw more attention, especially when they come from a lower mintage year like 1995. Always check the condition carefully. Coins with higher grades like extra fine, about uncirculated, or mint state are worth much more. So there you have it, the 1995 D mint mark Monticello Jefferson nickel in extra fine condition is a small but valuable treasure in the world of coin collecting. Whether you're a casual collector or just starting out, this nickel is definitely worth checking out. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more coin collecting content, and drop a comment below if you have any questions or want to share your own coin finds. Until next time, keep hunting for those treasures and happy collecting.